Welcome to the Storyteller's Mind Movie Makers. Hosted by Melissa Reaves, this podcast explores the art and science of stories that are felt, not just told. Ready to turn your message into superpower and ignite impact? Let's dive in on today's episode.
Well, welcome back, you storyteller mind movie makers. Welcome back to the show. I'm Melissa, and I'll be your host today. And we are so excited to have Ben Morley here as our guest. And say hello, Ben.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. A pleasure.
Yes, we're very excited. We're going to have a great conversation. So let's just start with how you and I know each other. Let me do a quick intro. That Ben is a 27-year Air Force pilot that's now retired. He has seen the world, including Antarctica. He's been everywhere. He's been on mission-critical flights where President Clinton's in there. He has quite a career flying those big giant machines through the air. He's also a consultant, an executive leader, and he works with companies in merger and acquisition. So when companies are ready to sell, he helps find the buyers or he helps them get ready to sell. So you're very, very multi-talented in business, which is great. But the big stuff that's coming is that he's about to be an author of a book called Caterpillar Soup at 30,000 Feet, The Leader's Guide to Surviving and Mastering Your Greatest Transformation. I love that. As a storyteller, you have to have transformation. So welcome and congratulations. So how are you feeling with all of this going on, Ben?
Oh, I'm thrilled. It's fantastic. It's been one of those things on the back burner that I'll get to sometime, maybe. And to see it coming together as we record this, the editing is done, we're dealing with book design, and for it to become a thing, it's tremendous. I'm very humbled by the process and thrilled to see what's next from it. Yes.
This is the closest you will ever be to having given birth.
Yes. Which I have huge respect.
He's in contractions, and they are not Braxton Hicks. This is real.
Right. It is real. Yep.
Yes. No, congratulations. It is quite fun. And you said you're in formatting stage, and that's
Right.
always fun.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, though, my advice is you just sometimes have to put the pen down and be ready to go because
Right.
it's just time, right? But I'm
Yes.
so excited for you. So the way we met was we got to work together with a show for the National Speakers Association, the Northwest chapter, and they have this show called Last Story Standing. And a few episodes ago, we had Brian Gross on, and he was one of the contestants, and he did an amazing job sharing his story. And we're going to have a treat. You will be sharing your story so you can kind of get an idea of the content of his book from this story. Yes? Would you agree?
Yes. Yes. So the book is intended for leaders. You have a sense that there's a greater impact, a deeper alignment of yourselves that you want to bring to the table. Transition is that fifth season in life, right? There's winter, spring, summer, fall, and transition. It is the season in between seasons of which we feel and we're aware of, but we may not have language for it, and we may not be able to prepare for it and how to act or how to dress or what to do. And so maybe there's a disconnect from the impact we're currently making, but you feel that there's something more to you in whatever role that may be. You may not even be in an official role, but just you feel that there's something more. And that's what the book was written for, is sensing that there's another chapter in life. I'm happy with where I'm at. Right? I'm happy with what I've done, but there's this yearning for this transformation. So the metaphor that I use as a thread throughout the book is the metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly. Mm-hmm. And there's some wonderful, great books on how to be a great caterpillar and some wonderful books on how to maximize yourself as a butterfly, but maybe not so many for the transformation biologically as chrysalis. I call it the cocoon phase, that dissolving, that transferring from what I was to where I'm going, and that middle stage of I'm no longer that, but it is not developed yet inside me enough to call it the next thing.
Right. It's like you're in it. And the thing that I love about your topic is that change is going to happen.
Yes.
If it doesn't, then you're dead. You know,
Right.
like it's going to happen. And so many people fear it. And it is scary because it's unknown, but
Yes.
it's also I think it's an attitude thing that you're working and helping people with. It's like you're changing
Yes.
and trust it's gonna be okay.
Yes.
You know, it's like a snake shedding its skin
Yeah.
or an adolescent becoming involved with their whole body changing. You know, it's like that, but it's like more on a spiritual level when you
Yes.
become an adult.
Yes.
So I just think that your topic is gonna be really, really well received and leaders too. Like, do you find, like, when you're working with your executives, how are they overall? If you're, like, looking at all your clientele, how are they overall when they see change is gonna happen? Like, maybe they're going to be asked out, or they leave the company, or maybe they're going to be invited in, and that's another level of change. One's a little happier, one's a little more intense. What do you feel as though their comfort zone is with change?
A few are comfortable and have already gotten up to the rhythm with it and have their
Mhm.
sea legs, if you will, but many don't. I was one of those in my time when going through my transfer. I didn't know.
Yeah.
And there's this resistance that now you have the imposter syndrome or who am I? It really speaks to identity. I've built this business. I am this executive. I have built this and I am losing my identity in who I am if I sell this business. And I tell a story of exactly that in our mergers and acquisitions firm, representing a client. There's a buyer. It's pretty much an easy floater across the plate. Buyer's ready to make a deal, and the seller torpedoed the deal to the point where the buyer's like, "Do you even want to sell this?" And the
Mm.
answer was no. Now, this guy's wife was ready to sell it like yesterday, but
Mhm.
because he could not see himself without the business, he torpedoed the sale.
Oh, 'cause it was his
And
identity.
it's that identity from
Yeah.
teenager to 20s or single to married or with kids now empty nester to, right?
Yeah.
So it fits in all of these different categories that's new and it doesn't say, it may not feel right, doesn't feel great, but to your point, transformation's coming. So
That's right.
how do we create a language for it and to be comfortable in that uncomfortableness and to create some orientation through it?
What do you think some of the key tips are that help us get through it or can be tips? You know, is it journaling? Is it having faith in the universe? Like, what do you think
Yes,
helps the person?
I think it's yes to all of that. The phases I speak to is number one, awareness,
Mhm.
right? So where transformation begins for everybody. It's the moment the caterpillar first senses the cocoon calling, if you will.
Mhm.
You cannot change what you cannot see clearly. So that's the awareness, the self-awareness of where I am at currently. That then always poses into resistance, right? And you spoke
Oh,
about
yeah.
that on your podcast, the chatterbox,
Mhm.
the this, resistance, the instinct, right? Oh my, the instinct to keep crawling rather than surrender the cocoon and go through that. I'm going to continue wearing my high school jersey. Let me tell you how great I used to be. No judgment, but
Mhm.
that fear from moving forward, the resistance that presses into identity. Okay, so am I tied up in an old identity, right? So am I being loyal to an old, outdated version of myself that is preventing me from moving on? Am I trying to hang on to something past its sell by date? Identity, right?
So, like
That goes into
mhm.
fear. Fear stands at the guardian of the gate of your next level for each one of us, whatever that may be. Stepping on
Yeah.
stage, talking at the PTA meeting, whatever that be, right?
Starting a
Or
business.
starting a business,
Mhm.
asking that person to dance, going out to coffee, right? The executive meeting, what have you. To be able to build that courage in the act of the presence of the fear instead of waiting for it to disappear, which it may not. And then that leads into letting go, the strategic release of patterns, beliefs, and identities that no longer serve the person you are becoming, which gets into entering that cocoon and allowing the dissolution to begin, letting
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
which leads into redefinition is the intentional work of becoming who you were meant to be. It's that reorganization of surviving essence into a new form is what redefinition is.
Say that again. Say that one more time.
It's the intentional work of becoming who you were meant to be, which is the reorganization of surviving essence into a new form. You will
Wow.
integrate the best of your past self with the person you are becoming. moving beyond linear thinking into the complex reality of genuine growth. So everything that you love about yourself, everything that is meant to stay with you through this meltdown phase will be with you. But there's but there's a lot
gonna
that's
get
going to be,
loud.
it's going to get loud. So that's the
Yeah.
redefinition that leads into forward motion. And that's where your insight transforms into action. It's that first movements of the newly formed wings of the butterfly, if you will. Exploring the difference between goals and plans, I talk about in the book. And so from forward motion, now you move into that the authenticity is the courage to be yourself, that new version, even when it is inconvenient, emerging from the cocoon, even when others prefer the caterpillar version of you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally, we move into service, which is the ultimate expression of your transformed capability, which is the butterfly taking flight in the service of something larger than itself.
Awesome. Just brilliant. So it's interesting as you were sharing those, I was like, there's a couple of things. There's sometimes you are thrown into the cocoon and into the chrysalis and you have wings suddenly and you don't really know. Like it could be something like more dramatic. It could be, your marriage blows up.
Right.
Or there's an accident that happens and a person suddenly can't walk. They're a new person now. They had no plan that was going to happen and they have to look at their wings and go, okay, I got to work with this.
Right.
But then there's also you kind of feel like it's time to change, and you could visualize the wings that you want. Are you going to be a blue monarch? Are you going to be orange? Like, what are they going to be? Big wings? Are you going to be moth-like? And then stepping into it. So that group, I think, are the more maverick, pioneering attitude. Like, hey, my job is to continue to grow and expand. And so jumping into that cocoon might not be so scary for some people because they've done it so many times.
Yes.
What do you think?
Agreed. I think that if we look at it, each one of us have gone through a cocoon metaphorically at all stages of our life to get to where at each stage. And so to become aware of that and to look back and go, I have done this, maybe not to this level, but I am aware. And if I look at the forensics of the improvements that I've already made to get to me where I'm at, maybe that takes the fear away a little bit. Maybe it lights the path just a little bit more. It's different, but similar.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I get up every day and help people find their stories and tell them, because stories, like a divorce story, I'll just go back to that one. That's not a club you necessarily think you're going to ever go into, right? You don't think you are, but when you do, you realize you're in a club with a whole bunch of other monarchs that have already gone through it. Or as you're going through it, someone shares their story about what they went through. Going to be a completely different story, but there's just such comfort still to know you're not the only one that's gone through it, because you can get so caught up in that chatterbox, know? I'm the only one, I'm a loser.
Right.
You're
not the only one, but that's that fear and that's that voice. You are the only one. You're never going to be the same, whatever that voice is telling you, but to wait, pause, and that's the awareness of that voice, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And
that's key. That is key. And we talked about that in the last episode. So we really are on a subject that we just covered in the last episode. So go back and check them out, you guys. How about this, Ben? First off, I just find that you're such a poetic speaker. And when we worked together, I remember one time we were in rehearsal, because we go through the whole thing together. So I directed 8 storytellers for this one show. Everyone had 5 minutes exactly. If you didn't hit 5 minutes, you didn't get qualified to go on and win, which, that's not something we wanted, but you made your time. You made it in 5 minutes. And it was just such a fun process, to get through it. I mean, there was times in rehearsal where you and I couldn't even talk after you'd done it. We were like, you remember that day?
Yes.
We both just like this.
Yes. Right.
We just froze because we knew you had just hit it.
Right.
And you did. And that was still rehearsal. So yeah, those are the magic things that I love. So would you indulge us and share your story that you told? You guys, it's worth every second. It would be such a treat. And it also, keep this in mind, This is a nice summary story that you can tell many times as you go on podcast tours. Once your book is launched, the podcast tour thing is real. And so many authors sometimes think that they need to read their book when really you can tell the story. So when you're doing it, pay attention to the way he is setting up the story, the way he introduces characters, and not all characters might be human. Okay, so we'll pay attention to that. And the dialogue that when you use dialogue, how does it affect the audience's experience? There's just a lot of things that he's using that we went over very carefully when we went through the whole Last Story Standing training. Was how do we take your story and create it into a vivid mind movie? All right, so here's a sample student right before our eyes that will be able to share some of that work. Ben's ready to share his story. Let's just sit back and listen. But as you're listening to this story, what do you see in your own mind? What, like when he points out a certain character, do you see them? How do you feel about them? What does he do with his words that create that mind movie experience where you're feeling it? Okay, so whenever you're ready, my friend.
The year is 1995. I'm a 28-year-old Air Force instructor pilot flying an analog jet built in the 60s. It was built by the lowest bidder, and today, I really believe it. During flight planning this morning, the colonel told me, "Captain Morley, because of this mission's priority, you will be air refueling today." "Yes, sir." We are currently over the Atlantic on this classified mission with my crew of 6. This plane is a beast. It can hold 200 people, but today it feels fragile. Our cargo is so sensitive, President Clinton and his team are in the Situation Room monitoring our every move. I hear the radio chatter in my headset, feel the airflow from the vent and the low, constant hum of the engines. The afternoon sun hits the clouds as we descend to perform a hazardous procedure, a mid-air refueling. Imagine trying to siphon a gas from a car traveling at 350 miles per hour. Except the car is a massive flying gas station, 200 feet long, and we are flying just 12 feet apart, nearly 6 miles high, at 30,000 feet, in the clouds. I check the steam gauges, preparing for the rendezvous, then suddenly it hits me. Something is not right. My gut screams. The flying gas station is not where it's supposed to be 100 miles away. It's heading directly for us. We're on a collision course. No radar oversight, no GPS. Our closure rate is 70. It's like 430 miles a minute. We're our closure rate. We're on a collision course, and I'm the only one who can see it. I shout to my crew, they're on the wrong coordinates. Right here in this cockpit, suspended between the pilot I was trained to be and the leader I must become, I am in transition. Transition is the metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly, but caterpillar does not just grow wings. In the cocoon, it literally liquefies. It becomes caterpillar soup. It is that terrifying space of letting go of who I am with one hand while reaching out in the dark with the other for a version of me I have not met yet. To become the leader I need to be in this moment, I must commit identity suicide. I am in the soup. But there is no time for flight. I have to fight. My hands are slick with sweat on the controls. My heart is hammering against my ribs. I realize who I am becoming must determine what I am about to do. I immediately take the controls. I put the aircraft in a sharp, violent bank away from our flight path. I'm shouting on the radio, "You're heading to the wrong coordinates. Turn immediately." 2 of my crew members fall to the floor. I hear their angry shouts over the intercom, followed by a sudden, heavy silence as they realize the gravity of what almost happened. After a few minutes, everything is sorted out. The sky clears. We successfully rendezvous. Take the fuel. I radio to the flying gas station. Refueling accomplished. And we complete the mission. I survived the transition because I was willing to let the old version of me melt away. On that day, I earned my wings. They feel awkward at first, new and wet, but they are mine. Transition is not about doing, it is about becoming and being. The cocoon is about letting go of our attachment to an old version of ourselves because we finally believe a better one is possible. Years later, I can still feel my hands on those controls, still hear that sudden silence when my crew realized what almost happened. So I ask you, where are you today? Are you a caterpillar, ready for something more? Or are you in the cocoon, in the soup, reaching out in the dark? Because here's what I learned at 30,000 feet. Your actions today determine who you are becoming.
Oh, I just love that story. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I just want you all to know there were 8 storytellers, and Ben took second place and People's Choice Award. So it was really beautiful. Okay, let's talk about it, shall we?
The forensics of your excellence are in that, so thank you, Coach. But please, go ahead.
You're so sweet. No, we really did have a beautiful exchange of how we found. I remember one time when I said, you earned your wings that day, and you went,
That's it.
I know. And that was one of these again. We were like,
Right.
oh my God,
Yes.
you earned your wings, because
Yes.
that wasn't in there. But again,
Right.
when we're working in sessions and when you're working with coaches, right, you need to get in that zone, right? So it's like, yeah, it came through me, that one line, but it was for you and it was your energy that I just picked up on. That's all. That's how I always look at those sort of things. It's like the two of us have energy that's creating this art together,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So that was beautiful. But let's talk about a few things that I think are fun. The beginning is data, right? The year,
Mhm.
your age,
Mhm.
what you're doing.
Mhm.
You know, what was it, 1997?
95.
1995. It's 1995. And so by saying that, everyone who was alive is going to go, where was I in 1995? Right? I was in Los Angeles, right? So I have Melissa from Los Angeles going on in that,
Right.
my
Yeah.
old caterpillar,
Yes.
right?
I had hair. Right. So, yeah. I
Yeah,
got that.
you did. You did. I've seen pictures. Yes, you did. You had hair, and 28 years old. Data. But
Yes.
we all remember what it's like to be 28, unless you're younger, you know, so that you might have a disconnect if they're younger. But for a lot of the audience, in this particular case, we're an older audience, you know, like they were people that were probably, I would say, 50 was the average age in that audience. Okay. So that was good. But I love, you know, when you called it the gas station, the flying gas station. When he calls the other airplane a flying gas station, I ask the audience, what station was it? Because mine was a Shell station, but some people might have had Chevron.
Right.
They might have had a Costco station. You know,
Right.
it doesn't matter. But the audience creates an airplane and then they turn it into a gas station. You did that. You did that.
Thank
With
you.
our imaginations by calling it that. And notice he called it that for the whole time. It wasn't, you know, the plane. It was always the flying gas station. So that was the inanimate character that was in the story. You went back to some data, and I love how you took your time with it. You said we're 6 miles up. That's 30,000 feet in the clouds. Every time you added one more piece, you changed and enriched the mind movie, right? I love when you took the pause, and in the clouds. So now all of a sudden you're like, that's pretty high up. I've been at 30,000 feet. That's 6 miles. I didn't know that. Like, so we're doing some data and some math. But I remember in rehearsal, you had more numbers. Remember you had more numbers at the beginning, and we
Right.
were like, a lot of math going on there.
Right. Yeah.
And that's going to take the emotional impact out. So I talk about that a lot. And you were so cool
do.
because you were like, oh, I didn't even look at it like that. Because again, as a pilot Ben, you're going to default to the numbers.
Right. Yes.
And so taking them out and being very careful when you use the numbers so that everyone, the non-pilots of the world, can relate to it. So I didn't realize that 30,000 feet was 6 miles. That's long. That's really high.
Yeah. It's up there.
It's up there. Then there were some things you did where, I also love that you said, because the first time we did it, you said the president is sitting in the White House. And we were like, who? Which president?
Right.
And then you were like, it's Clinton. And I'm like, we got to say that. And why? If we don't say it's President Clinton, everyone's going to wonder who was the president at the time.
Right. Yeah.
So we removed that threat of what we call the wonder-wander effect, because if you don't give that information, the audience is going to wonder on their own. And so that's where the coaching can be really helpful, because you would be like, yeah, the president's in the White House. In your mind, you saw Clinton, but we're like, who is it?
Right.
And just gently saying that. And then if you like Clinton or not, doesn't matter, but at least it gives it that clear image of him sitting in the Situation Room.
Correct.
So that was great. Then there's 2 times, mostly at the end, but in the middle, you go from narrating the story and telling the story and stepping into the story where your crew is yelling, what's going on, we're going to hit, and then you step out and you talk about transition. And in that point, you definitely step out of the story a little bit to become in transition. But I would say in that first time you do that, it's like you are sharing your inner thoughts. But time has passed now, and you like, when you were in it, did you really say to yourself in that moment, I'm in the chrysalis?
No.
In that second, maybe you didn't, but you knew you were in something.
Right.
And then the artist in you later was able to create it into that, which I just thought it was a very beautiful way for you to share your inner thoughts in such an artistic way. So,
well, thank you. I had a great coach.
Oh, stop it.
Who pointed that out.
I don't know. No, but you did. You did do it. Another thing that I love what you do with your work is your tone and your pace. You have a really lovely voice too to listen to. It's like butter. I could listen. You could read the phone book to me. I'm like, oh, keep going, Ben. But you have a nice control over the way you use your voice and the way you were looking at it, as if it was, I would say, like music. There was times you went really fast and you had to get it up there, and then you'd stop and you'd pull it back, and it was not contrived. It was really beautifully done. So again, kudos to you, and that's you. Don't say that was me. Really well done, because it gives that variety for the audience. Sometimes I'll hear storytellers and they have this same tone and they're going through the whole thing and it's always at this tone. And then they stop and they go at this tone, and it's like, it's monotonous. And to really create that mind movie, you want to have that variety in your voice and in your sentences, because that's how we talk.
Yes.
That's how we talk.
It is.
Right. So technically it was just really a brilliant, brilliant piece. And then you come into the last one where so he has a call to action in this type of story. So when he said, where are you in the cocoon? Or are you a caterpillar? He did that. Not all storytelling venues would necessarily call for such a direct ask to the audience. But in this case, it was kind of important because it was a keynote case. And so the Speakers Association wants their audiences to feel challenged. But you could change that if you were going to tell this story, let's say at The Moth, the show that's on NPR. You might change the ending of that. You might not say, where are you? You might say, that day I learned, and you might change it and just keep it as a reflection to yourself.
Right.
But in this case, in a keynote, to do that call to action where you reach back out to the audience now, that's bringing them in.
Yeah.
That's bringing them into your story to participate, right? And so it's completely applicable. It's completely acceptable. Okay, those are my notes.
I think that's fantastic. And that's the beauty of this podcast with what you're doing with the Mind Movie. This is the maker's show where you can get this, beautiful piece of music, let's say, right? And maybe it's a hard rock band, pick Metallica, right? So this is what you're hearing on the radio. Then they make an acoustic version. Then they make a version with an orchestra.
Yeah.
So to your point, it's the same piece of music, but it's modified based on who they're working with and their audience. So to your point, with that structure that you're creating here with the speakers, we don't need all this data on the aircraft or all this data on whatever the person may be, and to realize how the audience is going to do. That's that wonder, right? I'm going to veer off, and for you to coach on just enough seasoning to make this soup wonderful, right? Just enough in there.
Right.
So,
That's right. It made me think, like, it would be fun challenge just for you as a storyteller, to anyone out there, is to actually, if you really want to see what you can do with a story, because again, when we're creating stories for your own story library, right? So Ben's going to go on a podcast and he's going to talk about it. He's got several stories that he's going to tell, but this one really could be one that you tell more frequently than not. But depending on the audience. So if you had an audience for some reason, maybe, let's say you had a podcast. Let's say you had a podcast and it was geared towards high school STEM kids. okay, right? These are high school STEM kids trying to figure out where they wanna go. How would you start that story to them?
Mm-hmm.
How would you tell that story? What words would you use that would be different, but it's still the story, but you're gonna change it just slightly because the audience changed?
I would say probably with a STEM group, there's a bit more details, probably a bit more analytical. So I would look to flavor it and to structure it that way, if you will.
Mhm.
Maybe I put a few more of those data sets in there because they're going to pick up on that. They've already have the language and the framing for that type of communication. They're going to get it. They can keep pace, if you will, with the speaker on the cadence of it.
Right.
The
Now
data
let me
coming.
change the audience to a bunch of theater actors. You've been invited into the drama club, and there are these young minds that are about to graduate, and they're theater kids. How would you tell that story to them?
I mentioned airplane, and that's the last part of it, maybe just a couple of pieces of data, but then we're going to be talking about what was the feel,
Mhm.
how was the meshing with the crew, how are we getting along, what I feel like in that seat, right, as I tighten up
Yes.
the straps and I'm adjusting the vent here and leave
Yes.
the analytics. How do I feel? What did the sun look like as it's bouncing off of the clouds late in the afternoon? We can create that framing. Oh, I remember. I know what clouds, look like with the sun off in the afternoon. Okay, great. From there. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. And that's the fun,
that's the fun.
right?
Right.
That's the fun.
Yes.
It's like you get your story so good that you can mix it around.
That.
You know, I
Yes.
actually did that in improv last week. I have a story that I love that I just started telling, and it's between 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, it was a longer format. They wanted us to go long, and I'm like, I could get this down to 5 minutes because I want to be able to tell it on the moth. And on the fly, I told the story in an improv scene at a live show, and I got it down to 3 minutes, probably two. Probably 2, and I weed whacked everything out, and I got to where I needed it to be, and it was so much fun because people were walking up to me going, "Oh my god, I loved your story." And I'm like, "You have no idea how much I chopped."
That. Right.
Yeah. But it's a good thing to do, so everyone out there listening, and you're starting to develop your stories, know your best story so well that they'll never be threatened from you no matter what. You could tell it to anyone,
To
and you
anyone.
just know, you pivot. If you don't pivot, then it won't be as fun for the audience. They have to feel like they're a part of it with you. So that's
Yes.
fun.
Well said. Well said.
So when's your book coming out?
The book's coming out this month. Yes, it is coming out. I can't wait. It'll be wonderful. Yeah, such a tremendous achievement. It's a great team helping me out with this, and they are like you, a great coach, and they're providing what I really talk about in the book. I want to do this, or I'm in a transition, but I don't. I'm looking for other voices that can help me out with that, and they've been
Yeah,
wonderful. So yes, coming out this month, right?
so great.
Yeah, be on
And there's
Amazon.
so
So,
much
so
going
yeah.
on in the economy too, with
hmm
people losing jobs,
hmm
and there's going to be a lot more I think entrepreneurship happening
hmm
with people. So this is the perfect time for you to be able to maximize people who have been thrown into the chrysalis,
Right. Right.
right?
Agreed.
And having to deal with it, but realizing that they could start to visualize the wings that they want.
That's correct. That's well
Right?
put.
So it's just
Yes.
a brilliant gore. I use this analogy because of you multiple times during the week. Multiple times.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you.
You're
It's
very
that, and
welcome.
that's the best part about a really great story is that it stays with the audience.
It stays with
It
the audience.
stays with the audience. They don't forget about it because you didn't just talk at them, you actually brought them into
Bring them
something
in.
that they were in. They were in that airplane. They
Which
were in the White House.
they were in, right. To get people coming up going, I'm in the caterpillar soup right now. I know what they mean.
It's so cool.
And to connect that way, we as speakers, you're the locomotive and the train backing up to the train cars to make the connection. Then you pull them forward.
Yeah.
Because I'm just some crazy locomotive. Okay, I made no connection with the audience, but to know that and with your coaching and what is done here, to leave the audience to continue to think on that,
Oh,
what a
yeah.
great gift that you provide to people here until. So it's
Well, you're so
wonderful.
talented. I mean, thank you. You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Thank you. But you're so good too. So it's a delight. Well, I am super excited for you. I'm grateful that I could have you on the show.
Such a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Oh my God, thank you. And so everyone out there, this is what this show is about. This is about learning how to find the science to the art form of storytelling. And we just had the pleasure of listening to Ben Morley with a beautiful story that's going to reflect his book. So I wish you all the best, new friend.
Thank you, new friend.
Yeah. And best to you. And we will be coming back. Every Monday we drop an episode. So please like, comment, and share. My new favorite thing to say. Like, comment, and share. We really want to hear from you. And I've been getting emails from people who are talking about the Chatterbox and some of the content. So I know I'm starting to crack some people to think about their storytelling, because you're all walking, talking storybooks. All right. And till next time.
Thank you for joining the Storyteller's Mind Movie Makers. To build your story library and turn lived experiences into unforgettable mind movies, subscribe, leave a comment or review, and share this podcast. For fast, reliable support and coaching, subscribe to Missy AI, our AI storytelling coach, available at storyfruition.com. And don't forget to follow @StoryFruition on YouTube and Instagram for more storytelling tips and live coaching. Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep crafting, keep sharing, and remember, tell your stories and tell well.